back with the death lineup. I was out of town last week, so we were on a 1-week hiatus, but we are back, and there's actually a little bit of stuff to talk about. Bri, what do you, well, I don't know, are you anticipating, or is it football season, and we're just kind of waiting for basketball season? Like, how are you dealing with this time frame right now?
Um, I think that time period where it's just baseball and
Yeah.
there's no football or basketball, and on top of that, the Giants suck. That has to be like one of the worst times in sports year round,
Yeah, last year
especially
wasn't
if you're
too
not
bad.
especially if you're not like a actual like football, like in the Europe sense of the word, football fan.
Yeah.
So, like right now, yeah, football season's back. I'm gonna be dialed in, but the Donovan Mitchell trade made it feel like closer and closer that we're getting back.
Yeah, that trade was interesting because my immediate reaction was, and I think how you like this trade depends on what you think of Mitchell, because some people think Mitchell, because of how he played in the playoffs a couple years ago, the bubble playoffs, right, was where he went off and everyone started to take notice. Like if you go back to that time and you go, that's who he is, then yeah, like Cleveland definitely needs a guy like that. But if you kind of look at last year, I don't know. I think he's a really good player. I just don't know if he's the guy to take them over the top. But the best thing about it is they have a lot of pieces, and even if he's not perfect, they still have pieces that they could work with or trade or grab, and it's a nice little team in Cleveland. Uh, I don't. I guess when LeBron is not on Cleveland playing against us in the finals, I don't have anything against them. So I'm just like, oh yeah, the perky Cavs.
Yeah, I mean, when Utah got rid of Gobert and not now got rid of Mitchell, like I feel like for both teams, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Cleveland Cavaliers, I feel like both of them could have just played for another 3 or 4 years and kept building what they had going,
Hmm.
and potentially been better and kept the picks like down the long run. Like I think I would have rather seen, like, because if you think about it, like Jared Allen is under 25, I believe. Like Darius
Hmm.
Garland's young, Evan Mobley's young, like, and they
Hmm.
have all those picks. Like I still feel like they could have kept building something. And then you look at the Minnesota side with Anthony Edwards. Like I'm sure there's more that goes into it than just what I see. Like maybe Karl Anthony Towns is a little upset or something. He wants someone to win. I don't know past that, but I still think that like maybe if they just held off from making the trade, that maybe down the line there would have been a better fit, because we'll see what the Gobert Cat thing looks like. We'll see what the Mitchell uh, and Garland backcourt looks like with no defense. But on the Cavs side, you have those two rim protectors that are just like the best rim protecting defense in the league. So
I mean,
we'll
that's
see.
essentially what Gobert did for Mitchell, right? Like he just cleaned up a lot of mistakes because he's so good in the middle. But okay, so then the flip side of that, kind of what you're saying is maybe we just wait and these guys, we just keep bringing in guys or bring in young talent or whatever, and we just rebuild. Like that's the Thunder. And if you're a Thunder fan or if you're Shea, you're just like, when? Like, how many times do we just have to say, next year, next year, next year? They want everyone's the bad teams are tanking for next year's number one draft pick, but it's like, man, unfortunately, Holmgren goes down, and it just feels like this is like Groundhog's Day for
Hmm.
Thunder fans all over again. I would like to see them throw some stuff out there and possibly win some games, but I guess they're just going to be sort of what they were last year.
And yeah, we always anticipate the Thunder. Like I put them in my bottom five teams, but like if you really look at the roster on paper, it's like there's good talent. It's just the Thunder decides to shut down their guys in March every year
Y-
because they're trying to tank.
Yeah, and
And
they're not picking up any vets to help them get over the hump
yeah,
until it's
no.
right. They're not doing that.
And I think the Utah Jazz is going to mimic that strategy, just being like the tanking team, like the rehabilitation center, where they'll get an Al Horford and give him a year to sit out and just now flip him for another first round pick or something. Like I think the Utah Jazz will be the next Thunder. But I was actually talking to Alex Spears, who does a podcast for the Athletics NBA show. He does the Saturday Slam and Jam, and then he's on the Athletics Thunder podcast, Down to Dunk. And I asked him about that because I'm like, why have we never heard like any angry complaints, any
Hmm.
the what do they call it? The superstar, I forget the word, but like the upset superstar
Mm-hmm.
comments from Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and he was saying, I forgot exactly, I'm forgetting exactly what it was, but I know there's an agent tie. Like the agent is like, I don't know if he's friends with the GM for OKC, or
Mm-hmm.
there's something there that like I think they've been shutting down some Shea not happy rumors maybe
Interesting.
before they hit the public. But now, I mean, now you wonder again with Holmgren going down, and they might just do the same thing again where everyone sits in March. It's like, yeah, I think it'll happen at some point.
All right, so let's talk about some Warrior stuff here. I feel bad because I haven't even listened to the last Andre Iguodala, Evan Turner podcast, the Point Forward show. I was out of town all last week, which is not all last week, but the weekend, last weekend, which is why we didn't record because I sort of had to prepare for my trip. But it just got me on an Andre Iguodala mindset because we're getting very close to training camp. Was like in like a week or something, right? Like aren't they? They're like getting together really soon, and the Warriors plus minus got back together, and they were talking about it. So it just kind of got me in my head, and I thought it'd be fun. Like, let's put ourselves in the shoes of Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala, what year was he drafted? Was
Like
it
03?
that would have been LeBron's year.
I thought LeBron was 04. Or was he 03? Maybe was Iguodala a year before?
Let's see. Iguodala was drafted in 2004. So he's a year after LeBron, but he's also the same age as LeBron, I think, because Iguodala was a freshman. Was he freshman or sophomore? Maybe been a sophomore.
He probably came out as a freshman in college, but LeBron came out as a senior in high
Right.
school. Or
Right. Yeah. He didn't have a college year.
yeah.
So Andre Iguodala started playing in the year 2004, the 2004-2005 season, and he is currently his age 38 season. Last year he played 31 games. The year before in Miami he played 63. The year before that he played 21, and in his previous Golden State year he played 68 games. So clearly Andre Iguodala is in vet status. He is in he is the guy that you're going to bring back for chemistry reasons, because he's won titles with the Warriors, because he helps the youngsters, he helps them grow. But at the same time, he also has tons of different passions. So I wanted to do a pros and cons thing with Iguodala. So if I'm Andre Iguodala and I'm writing this list, pros and cons of whether to come back or not to come back, I think the number one pro is, and we've said this before when talking about him, his profile with the media, with the NBA, with fans is much higher if he is in the league than if he isn't. And we know he has passions. We know he has the podcast that is seemingly a very successful venture for him. I think it's a great show. At the same time, they have really good guests, and so all of his businesses probably succeed a little bit more with him being in the league. Do you have any other pros that you can think of for Andre Iguodala?
I mean, I think the main pro or con is if he still has the itch, if he still loves it, if he still wants to go out and play and go on the road and the whole lifestyle that's committed to it. Does he still love it enough to want to do it?
I think another pro sort of related is these guys are his friends, right? If he wants to go play golf with Steph Curry, and you're sort of on the team and you're chatting and you're hanging out and you're chit-chat, you're just involved. It's probably the brotherhood part of it, right? The brotherhood part of it is there, and it's probably, I mean, now everyone's on a text thread, so you could theoretically do that as well. But he's part of the brotherhood when he's on the court with those guys, and they feel a little bit more connected. So I think that is another pro. But one con I can think of is, man, man, wear and tear, right? And not only physical, but also mental, just the mental exhaustion players go through with the travel, with not being home, all those things. I think that is a really big con. Like if he's writing on his whiteboard a priority, what's the one that keeps him from saying, yes, I want to play no matter what? I think it's, being away from home and doing all that traveling away from your family. That's got to be a big one.
A pro, the money.
That's the other thing, but could also be a con because we know what the Warriors can offer him, right? Not much. And they have a slot and they can, they can't necessarily pay him, a ton of money. It says this is not a multi-year contract. So it would be a 1-year deal, a 1-year vet deal to come back. I think another sort of half pro and half con is the young players. I'm sure there's a part of him that really, really, really loves mentoring and coaching up guys. But I think there's also a part of him that's like, man, these guys are knuckleheads. Right? Like we heard Marcus Thompson and Anthony Slater, I think they partnered on a piece where Jordan Poole and Andre had to give Jordan Poole the punishment or something for Jordan Poole that was like broke a TV by throwing a basketball, and Andre's like, that's coming out of your check. That's not coming out of all of our checks, So that kind of thing. There's something there. I think probably a little bit more of a pro than a con, but he's got kids, man. He doesn't want to have to deal with these 19-year-olds all the time. I was thinking of another con would simply be spending more time with the different businesses that he's involved in, because on the court it takes up so much of his time that he can't invest as much time in the other stuff, and him doing that probably takes him away from doing other things that he likes as well, because you got to play basketball and then you got all these businesses, and then it takes away from home a little bit. So I see all of those as big reasons. And I guess there's something that I talked to his wife about, and I've mentioned this conversation before. Me and my buddy Prakash, we were in I think it's like the Mercedes-Benz something or other. This is before Chase, so this would have been the year before Chase. And it was a game against, I want to say it was against Minnesota. Katie's last year. They were blowing out Minnesota. So we go into this little Mercedes-Benz area where you can get food and stuff. And we see her there. I think her name is, I think her name is Christina. And she was talking about how like their big worry, or her big worry for him, is what happens when the limelight is gone. Like, there's this, he lives a specific life while being an NBA player. And what happens when that's over? A lot of athletes have a hard time dealing with that. And she was just, she wanted to make sure that they had everything sort of handled and sorted out and organized so that when he did stop playing, like he had a safety net, and he wasn't going to deal with this stuff like other couples. Like it's really hard on relationships too, because, if she handles a lot of the home stuff and then he's home a lot more, then, you're not like there's definitely a situation that, it kind of needs to evolve all over again. So I think that's another thing is to think about, is just, how's he going to deal with retirement? How does one just go from the lights and showtime to just being like, hey, I'm going to go read the newspaper this morning, so it's a different thing. All right. So ultimately the Warriors probably won't make him necessarily decide, but I think they would like to have an idea, because they still have to put pieces on the roster. And if Andre's like a nope, then they have to sort of find a player who may play a little bit more like him, where you smart, if he's only going to play 5 to 10 minutes a game, you're going to put him in with young players and he's going to make the court better. I mean, there's not many Andres out there. I would imagine not left. But there was a story where they had brought in some vets. So I kind of wondered if that was related. I think Elfrid Payton came in, or they're looking at
Rondé,
him.
Hollis Jefferson, Kenneth Faried.
Yeah.
There's 3 and D, Ben McLemore.
Okay. So those are, I don't know. I guess Elfrid Payton, probably from a point guard perspective, fits a little bit of that bill. Fareed is, gosh, I haven't heard Kenneth Fareed's name in a long time. And yeah, so Macklemore was at one point, he was like one of the future players for the Kings. I don't even know what happened to him. So if you were to guess today, September 8th, 2022, Andre Iguodala, is he coming back for 1 year, or would you bet on him not playing?
I think it's like you said. I think it's either February or nothing at all.
Okay, but is he going? Is he in February then?
No.
So you don't think he's playing this year?
I'm mainly basing it off of just like listening to this guy's podcast and seeing how passionate he is about the podcast, and that's mainly where I'm basing it from. And I don't know, if I were him, I'd probably not return.
And it's it's there. I can see that also. I don't know. I don't know if it's 50-50, but it sort of feels kind of close to that, right? Now maybe Steph knows, maybe Draymond knows. Like maybe those guys they have a feeling. Maybe the front office has a feeling too. But it does feel like it's, kind of like a 50-50 thing. And I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say yes. Training camp starts on the 24th. So it is actually a little over 2 weeks away. And then their first game is in Japan on the 30th. But I think like training camp starts and then they immediately got to fly out. Like it's a crazy, weird schedule for them. So I'm agreeing with you that, Warriors are just going to be like, okay, we don't need you until January, and just keep your mind right, keep your body right, and we'll go with, what is it, 14 or how many ever that they need, and then come January he's there. And I think, at least I hope, come training camp, and because that's going to be the question that everybody is going to ask the vets, right? Everyone's going to ask Steph, is Andre coming back? And his answer, I think, will be a little bit of a clue. Like, I think he's got a lot of ball left in him. I think that's like, okay, he thinks he's coming back. And if it's like, Andre's got a lot of stuff going on, then maybe it's probably a no. So I think we'll be able to read through those answers from these vets. But for my own selfish reasons, I want to see him back.
Me too.
When you were playing basketball in high school, I was like, watch Draymond, watch Andre. Like they do everything right on offense and defense. They may not, they're not bombing threes like Steph and Clay, but just running plays and setting screens and making the right pass. Those guys make your team better without having to score the basketball. And he's at 38 now, so he's going to be less effective than he's ever been in his career. But I just so much enjoy watching him on the court because I feel like I learn a lot just watching what he does. And then we're an Iguodala fan. Like my own dog is named Andre Iggy Doggy. Like his first name is Andre, but we just call him Iggy. So we're a big.
Someone in our family even has his phone number.
I know, but he doesn't text him. We should ask JJ to find out. He's gotta ask. He's gotta ask, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait, I wanted to ask. I'm trying to remember. Oh, do you know how like the Warriors, not the Warriors, just the NBA's roster situation works? Do you know if two ways count as a roster spot? It's because I was thinking, like Slater was saying on the podcast yesterday, that they had like 13 or something like that, and they're saving the 15th for tax reasons, and maybe if this Iguodala thing, if he comes back. But I was trying to count up the guys. I was like, I thought we were already at 15. Like, is Ryan not signed yet? Second round pick, point guard?
No, he signed.
He signed.
So okay, so the roster as it currently is, Patrick Baldwin Jr. So that's 1. Steph 2, DiVincenzo 3, the big ragu, Draymond 4, JaMychal 5, Kuminga 6, Kevon 7, Moses 8, Jordan Poole 9, Ryan Rollins 10, Clay 11, Wiggins 12, Wiseman 13. So the other guys who are not yet on the roster.
So Quinones is a two-way. Quinones. Yeah, he's a two-way, and he doesn't count.
He does not count. He's not even on the ESPN roster, which does have Quindary on it. It has Quindary, but he's not actually accounted for with a salary. The 3 players or the 4 players that are on this roster that do not have a salary attached to their name: Andre Iguodala, Mac McClung, Guy Santos, and Quindary Witherspoon. Lester Quinones is not even on this list, so I don't know what that means.
I have no clue how it works. Like, I'm not sure if two ways work against the 15 man.
You got to get Slater, man. Slater knows all this stuff. You got to get Slater on your podcast. You're the one who shouted him out at Summer League. You should have figured it out. Or you know who else you could ask? Coach, who's been standing you up.
Oh man, I doubt he knows. No, he probably knows. Actually,
I think it's part of his job to know.
Yeah, he probably knows.
All right, so hopefully Andre is going to come back and everything will be good, because it almost feels bad too. Like, I wonder if some of it is like you go to battle with your guys, right? Like, you want Andre on your side. He's battle tested. He knows what it's like to be in the fun. Like, that kind of stuff matters, I think. And the Warriors really want one more shot. So I imagine, Clay and Steph are just kind of sending them some notes like, we're gonna get another one. We're gonna get another one. We need you. All that stuff. So hopefully it works.
Oh, I don't really know how like the statues work, because I haven't seen someone who I've watched constantly get a statue, so I don't know what it takes. But like, does Iguodala get one and Chase? Because to me, that's four championships.
But they don't have any at Chase, do they?
They have none. Well, they have that guy who's sitting. If you were to put your little background 360'd it, there's this guy who's sitting down. I think it was the old San Francisco mayor or something like that. He's a statue.
Well, if they did do statues, like, one of them would have to be Barry.
Well, TMC, did they get like a one group statue?
Well, I don't know. They're all in the Hall of Fame now, and we'll talk about that at the end of the show. Tim Hardaway is going to be inducted this weekend, but Mullen and Richmond are already in the Hall of Fame. Al Attles is like their most famous coach, and he was the coach of their championship team in the 70s. And then this current crew with Steph and Clay and Draymond and Iguodala. Like, I don't know, they run out of statues. Like at the AT&T or Oracle, like, there's like we're trying to figure out. Okay, Barry Bonds has got to get a statue. Tim Lincecum's got to get a statue. Buster Posey's got to get a statue. Madison Bumgarner's like, where are they going to put all these statues?
Start putting them in stadium instead of outside.
That's a good idea.
But does KD get a statue? I'd give him a statue.
I would. I'd give him a statue.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Some of this is like, is he being nice to the owner? Like, is anyone not a KD fan in the current
front office
group?
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to shout out Mark Nobita, who we've seen his comments come in, and I've put him up, especially during the playoffs and during the finals. He was watching us. I was talking to him. He was in town. He actually doesn't live in the Bay Area anymore. He lives in Southern California, but he was down or he was up, and I was talking to him. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and he's like, I really like the show. Whenever I can, I try and watch it. Sometimes I'm supposed to be working, and I throw it on in the background. So shout out to Mark Nobita. So you and Mark Nobita's daughter, Alex, you guys are like 2 months apart. Like, you were born like right around the same time. So there's a tie there to Mark and Marie and Alex. Okay, so let's talk about my second topic here. Now, we've been doing this. What do you expect from? And we talked about Moses Moody. We talked about Kuminga. Who else did we talk about? Wiseman. Talked about Wiseman. And now we're going to talk about Jordan Poole. I didn't make the graphic for Jordan Poole like I did the other ones, because we had this graphic from the season, the pool party graphic from the Golden State Warriors Reddit, which was awesome. So I just decided to use I want to see the pool party graphic all over again. But okay, so Jordan Poole, last year in his third season, he plays 76 games, starts 51 of them. He averages 18.5 points, 4 assists, and 3.4 rebounds a game. He leads all of the NBA in free throw percentage at 92.5%. He shoots 44.8% from the field and 36.4% from three-point land. And yet, at 30 minutes a game, I don't know if it's going to go any higher because he did a lot of this with Klay Thompson out of the lineup. So, first question for you, when it comes to what we expect out of Jordan Poole, do you see any of those numbers going wildly up?
Wildly. Could we? Could the points go from 18.5 to 21 or 22? Is that wild?
That's a good percentage. That's probably like, I don't know, what, 25, 30% increase
I'd say
or
that's
something
wild.
like that?
That would be my guess. That's my wild guess.
So I think that could happen for sure. And like when you're like looking at this team on paper, you go, oh, Clay's back. He goes to the bench. He becomes the sixth man. And I think Steve Kerr is going to have this really cool puzzle with the rotation, because how many games would you expect? Like, let's say Steph is completely healthy. Let's say he does not hurt his foot, doesn't get knocked to the ground. He's completely healthy. Out of the 82 games, how many games does he play?
You're going to have to make me look at the schedule because I'm taking away every single back-to-back and I'm taking away every trip to Toronto. So whatever that is, you subtract that, that's what he'll play if he's 100% healthy.
Okay, so like 68 games or
Sure.
whatever
Yeah,
that is. Yeah, and so if he's not playing, so Jordan Poole plays those 14 and he gets starts at the 1 in those 14. And so I would assume the same thing happens for Klay. He's going to probably not play the back-to-backs, all that stuff. And so if let's say Steph and Klay play 68 games, and hopefully they don't get hurt, because if they get hurt, then it's going to be way less. Jordan Poole starts all of those games. And there may be games where Steve is like, I got to rest Klay and Steph on the same day. And so now it's like, oh, Jordan Poole is not only the point guard, but now he's the main scorer, right? Like he's going to lead the team in scoring and in shots, and a lot of the offensive responsibility comes to him. So I do kind of think like there may be opportunities in, let's say, 20 to 25 of these games where he is either the first or second option on offense. And thus, your 22 points may not be all that hard to get to. I think that's a good possibility. Yeah, I guess it's a 15-point increase, not a 15% increase, not a 20% increase. But still, that is a good possibility. I think the efficiency is going to be interesting too, because 36% off of 8 threes a game is pretty good. But you would think, as good of a shooter as he is, I mean, just look at that free throw number, right? There's probably a little wiggle room in that efficiency from 3-point line. And if he goes up from 36 to 38, that could be an extra point or two a game right there.
I think that Jordan Poole's 3-point percentage, along with a lot of other players' 3-point percentage, should be like, you should use like the advanced analytics and split it into two: percentage on catch and shoot and percentage off the dribble, because we know he likes to take some crazy ones sometimes. So I'd be interested in knowing that percentage.
And I mean, you want to get even deeper. It's like, all right, how many wide open threes because Steph is on the court versus when Steph is not on the court, where you have to kind of create the opportunity for yourself. By the way, just give me a guess of what you think Klay shot in regular season from 3 last year?
30.
See, I was thinking it was like 35, like less than Poole. He shot 39% from three
I
in
thought he had
32
a rough
games.
regular season. I wasn't paying attention to the 3-point percentage.
And then for Clay, you have to separate the shots where he's standing up straight and then the ones where he's leaning and falling.
Yeah.
And then those are the efficiency numbers for Clay. All right, so now I think the thing that worried is not the right thing, but we keep hearing that Jordan Poole is going to get a nice number because his contract is up at the end of this season. And whether or not they fix it, during the season or kind of in the beginning of the season, or maybe they wait until the end of the season. I think the one thing, like even more than the offensive numbers, the one thing I would like to see him improve at is just the sort of the strength and the ability to stay in front of his guy. Like that is the one thing, like we saw it in the playoffs. And the reason why it was so magnified in the playoffs is because, as we know, playoff basketball is a little different. It's more physical. It's more, it's less just get out and run and jack up shots. But there were moments when we were both like, come on, guy. This is a time for you to be tough here. And he showed his moments, but he also showed moments where Kerr's like, all right, we got it. We got to make a change because he's getting a little manhandled here. I don't know if weightlifting or whatever, like, cause he's got a great shot. I don't know how you don't want to mess with that, but we know Curry lifts weights. Curry's he's a pretty strong guy, but I would just like to see that base get a little bit stronger. We know he's quick. That's the place where if he even gets, if he was a C- grade defender and he just gets to a C+, B-, that is a vast improvement. And that's where I'm like, give this guy as much money as possible because he's showing that he's going to be that guy. Because we used to hear that with Curry, right? Everyone wanted to take Curry one-on-one, and then he had to hold his own. And this guy's in his mid-30s now, and he's a better defender than he's ever been, even though he's not as quick as he was because he's strong, he's smarter, he's got the hands, he's got the ability to hold his own. So, Jordan Poole has a long time until he hits his mid-30s, but that's where I want to see him improve.
And it's not like he doesn't have like the tools to not do it. He has the height, he has the frame. Like imagine if like current day defensive Steph had like Poole's tools. Like I think that Steph would be a pretty darn good defender. But yeah, I'm with you. And Poole's been someone who's improved so much every summer. So I would love to see if he dipped into that. He's been working out with Steph's trainer. I don't know how much that's going to help with defense, but that's a good sight to see, I'd say.
I'm going to go on a limb right now and say he's winning Sixth Man of the Year. And the only thing that will stop him from winning Sixth Man of the Year is if somebody gets hurt and he's got to start.
And he's starting. Yeah. Agreed.
So I think that is his award to lose for this season.
Yep. I'm interested on his combination, like because I remember Wiseman's rookie year, there was a lot of talks on like there was like some like chemistry between Poole and Wiseman, how they wanted to play with each other more, and then Poole was sent to that little G League bubble in Orlando. And that was the game. I think he had a really, really good game. I think it was against the Trailblazers or some team like that. And everyone was trying to call him back from the bus. Like, no, wait, don't go. But I remember that there was supposed to be like some little chemistry there. And then Wiseman goes down. Wiseman doesn't even play this whole season. So I'm wondering, Poole's going to get a lot of reps this year with Wiseman. And I really want to see how that looks.
Oh, gosh, I'm so excited to see how Wiseman looks with everybody.
Me too. But do you think that this is kind of off the Poole tangent, more on like a quick little Wiseman tangent? Do you think they need another backup center just in case? Like kind of how we re-signed Jimmy G for Trey Lance. Do you think that another center needs to be re-signed for?
Okay, Wiseman? But Wiseman is the backup, right? Like Kevon is the starter.
No, I know, but the backup to the backup. Like I don't know who's out there.
Probably not because they have Draymond.
Oh man, that poor guy's back though.
Well, I mean, the hope is that he doesn't have to play much 5, right? Because if Wiseman and Loon play well, then maybe you sacrifice some of those late game crunch minutes with Draymond as the 5 and just go, we need to learn how to win basketball games without Draymond as the 5. And so that might be the thing. But And I'm sure Jermichael Green is probably going to play a little small ball
Mhm.
5 as well. So I think with those guys and Kuminga play a little small ball 5, you can probably get away with it, but they're not going to be that team defensively who is their 5 is their best defender unless it is Draymond, right? But they're going to be a team where um the way that they win basketball games is not at the end of the game because they have Evan Mobley swatting away shots or Rudy Gobert swatting away shots. That's just not the way that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next thing here is very near and dear to my heart, and I know that you did not grow up. You've never seen this. You've seen this man play one basketball game live, and I'm going to tell you when that was. But Tim Hardaway this weekend goes into the Basketball Hall of Fame. And the one time you would have seen Tim Hardaway play live, we went to a it wasn't a semi-pro league, but it was like a minor league basketball game. And they played in San Jose at the San Jose Civic Auditorium. And I think it was called the ABL or the ABA or something like that. And we got to see Tim, who was his NBA career had ended. But you guys, I don't know, you're probably like 4 years old or 5 years old or something. And we went to see Tim play. But do you know anything about Tim Hardaway?
I was about to say, like, out of the 3 of them, like, and he's probably, like, top 2 popularity-wise. I feel like Hardaway and Mullins were, like, the top 2 I knew, but I feel like I know his game the least.
So Tim Hardaway, and I'll do a little history here with Tim Hardaway because when I was growing up, he was my favorite player. And he's like, if you're going to say historically who's your favorite player of all time, it's Tim Hardaway. And the Warriors in 1988, they drafted Mitch Richmond, 5th pick out of Kansas State. And Mitch Richmond was great. He was rookie of the year. They already had Chris Mullin from the 1985 draft. And so those were 2 nice little pillars for them. But they had a point guard, and I think you will recognize this name. Point guard's name was Winston Garland. He has a son who is a very good young player in today's NBA, and he was the Warriors point guard. And so the Warriors made the playoffs, and I think they lost to the Suns, and Kevin Johnson was the point guard on the Suns. And he was from the Bay Area. He's a Cal guy. And he's just too fast for poor Winston. And he's just, going to the hole, layup. And so Don Nelson, who was the coach of the Warriors at that point, was like, we need someone who can play with Kevin Johnson. And so Tim Hardaway out of Texas, El Paso. I think he says he's 6 foot, but he's probably like 5'10". But he's built, big legs, big arms, big shoulders. And he comes in and he also wins Rookie of the Year, from what I remember. So Warriors had 2 back-to-back Rookies of the Year, Mullin, Richmond, and Hardaway. And then they would form Run TMC. There was also a hamburger from McDonald's in the Bay Area called the Tim and Chris Burger. And then Chris said, nope, it's called the Chris and Tim Burger. And they just went back and forth, Chris and Tim, Tim and Chris. And it was like a hamburger with some bacon in it and something or other, but and barbecue sauce. I remember barbecue sauce. So they're a pretty big thing. But if you think about the late 80s, the 49ers are, 3-time champions by then. The Giants are in the World Series. So the Warriors are still very much the 3rd best team or the 3rd most popular team in the Bay Area, and even behind the Oakland A's, because the Oakland A's are also very good at that time. So the Warriors are just kind of like, what the Sharks are right now. Like they have a hardcore fan base, but they're not like the popular team of the Bay Area. Thanks to Run TMC, they start bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. And then in 1993, the Warriors draft Chris Webber. And you've heard of Chris Webber before. And so they got Weber, they got Mullen, they traded Mitch Richmond for Billy Owens. They drafted a guy by the name of Latrell Sprewell in 1992, and then they have Hardaway. And so I'm like 16 or 17. I'm like, this is gonna be the greatest basketball team that I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, forget Michael Jordan. This is it. Tim Hardaway tears his ACL before the season starts. And Avery Johnson, who he was eventually the coach of the Spurs and the Mavs, I think, and he was a point guard on one of those Spurs championship teams with Duncan and Robinson. He's the point guard, and he did a good job, but they get eliminated in the first round by Phoenix. Charles Barkley just kills us, and it was sad times. And then Chris Webber, being the coward that he is, decides to leave because he's not getting along with Don Nelson. Don Nelson was a coward too. They both were cowards. They ruined my childhood, or not even my childhood. They ruined my late teenage years because that was about to be the best basketball team of all time.
Was there a rookie contract then? So did he like stay for the 4 years and then leave?
I'm going to tell you what happened.
Oh.
Okay. You know how in today's NBA, they have the rookie scale? Like their salaries are capped, and then, they're signed for how many every years. And then they have like the team, it's restricted free agency. And so all that did not exist. Basically, Weber made like 80 million for 8 years, or it was something like that. Except the Warriors gave him an opt-out, a player opt-out after the first year of the deal. And so he didn't want to play center. Don Nelson was playing the small ball before anybody else played the small ball, and Weber was his small ball center. And look, Weber's like 6'10", 260. Like, he's not a small man, but he did not like playing center. He wanted to play power forward. He wanted to have more ball skills. He didn't want to be battling against these giant men, because back then there were a lot of big centers. And so he cried and cried and cried, and they shipped him out eventually because he just wasn't going to play. So at that point, no Weber. Mullen was getting a little long in the tooth, and Hardaway comes back. Then him and Sprewell don't get along, so they trade Hardaway to the Miami Heat for Bimbo Coles and some other guys that you've never heard of. But then Tim has a pretty good career in Miami. There was one year where I thought they had a chance to win the championship. I think it was a post Jordan year. It was the year after Michael and Scottie won their last title, and it was a strike shortened year, so they didn't have the full 82 games. And so Miami Heat were the number 1 seed in the East, and they lost to the number 8 seed New York Knicks. And I was so mad. I was so mad because I knew my Warriors weren't gonna do anything. They were like a doormat team after that whole situation, but I could still root for Hardaway, and so I'm just in on Hardaway. And then they lost, and the Heat and Chicago played in some fun games. Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway were a fun team, but that was also back in the NBA where you're scoring like 85 points a game, and it's all defense, and it's all bad shooting, and it's all no one can really score the ball. So the basketball wasn't that great, but anyway. So Tim's post NBA career, he does a little bit of broadcasting. He was doing a little bit of the Inside the NBA. I remember he came on one time, and your uncle remembers this one. So he, it's during the playoffs or something. And so the movie Bad Boys had come out, and Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett are like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Those are the characters for Bad Boys. And so one of the broadcasters was like asking Hardaway, he's like, "Oh, what's the nickname that you have?" And he goes, "Bug." People called him Tim Bug, like that was his nickname. He's like, no, not that. He's like, "Oh, Mike Lowry," but like, he gave his nickname as Tim Bug on live television. So NBA career's over. He has I don't even remember the context of this conversation, but he goes on mic about homosexual lifestyle.
I was about to say, he got canceled.
And he was canceled completely. I was so mad because not only because he said what he said, but also because I'm just like, when you want to root for when your favorite player just says something so dumb and then just gets raked over. You couldn't really be a Tim Hardaway fan anymore. And so it's year after year after year. His son, Tim Jr., who probably could have helped the Mavs last year. They got to the Western Conference Finals. If he's playing and not hurt, maybe it's a closer series for Warriors and the Mavs. But he's got the kid, and like I'm just thinking, Hall of Fame's never coming. It's just not. It's just can't. What he is now known for is something really, really negative and bad, and he kind of forgot about how good of a player he was. So finally, this weekend, he gets his name called. I don't even know who's inducting him. I'm not even sure. I know in some of the media, Isaiah Thomas, because they were both from that Chicago area. Hardaway was the king of the killer crossover. So his crossover was between the legs, slight hezzy to the right, and then cross back over left. Like it was that's what he's known for. And that was the first time. I mean, everyone's had a crossover, but it was sort of like the first time like a point guard had a signature move that everyone knew was coming and he could still get to the hole. And they're like calling it. They're like, oh, setting him up for the crossover. And then boom, he's to the hole. And so I'm so happy that this is going to happen. He sounds like a changed man. He sounds like someone who's learned and really he's taken a beating, but he's learned and he's come out better on the other side. He's got a son in the NBA. I can't imagine how proud he is of Tim Jr. And I'm so excited. I mean, I got to figure out how to watch it. I don't even have NBA TV, so I'm not exactly sure. Maybe I just have to watch clips on YouTube.
Did you get League Pass version of 2K?
No, I didn't.
I bet I get it
Because you wouldn't tell me if they had old games or not.
Yeah.
There's too much NBA for me to watch as it is. So I was like, I don't need it, but I would like to watch a lot of the old footage.
Yeah, I agree, but I was about to say, I'm pretty sure Tim is like uncanceled. The cancel culture's whatever, but I think that he is. I think from what I've seen, like he has definitely a different changed. He's changed.
Yeah. And so it'll be fun. It'll be great, and hope to see some of the old players, Mullen, Richmond, Alonzo Mourning. Those guys will be great if they're there supporting him, because I think Zoe might be the one who's not in the Hall of Fame out of those guys. I'm not sure if Zoe is in yet. He might be though, but yeah, lots of love for my guy Hardaway. So I feel pretty proud about that. Because you probably thought my favorite player is Michael Jordan or something, I would guess.
I actually don't know who I would have guessed for you. Like I probably would have just went on a. Like, how old were you when Sleepy Floyd played?
So Sleepy Floyd was my very first favorite player. I was like,
that's what I would have guessed.
I was like 8 when he was playing on the Warriors.
Okay,
from 8 to like 11. Yeah, he was my first favorite though. I still love him. He doesn't do a lot of stuff, but I still get a kick out of like when the Warriors bring him back and stuff. I remember how they were bringing like everyone back for a home game last year. He went back one time, but yeah, Sleepy Floyd. But Hardaway was like, because I was in high school by then, man. You're just like, that's the cool guy. He did a commercial with Spike Lee, and he audibled in a line that said, "I got skills," and that was kind of a thing back then. He always did this thing with interviews too. You would ask Tim a question, and you'd just be like, Tim, there's a moment in the game where, Nelly did this and you got one-on-one and you scored, tell us about it. And he'd go, and then he'd talk and then he'd go, and then that would be when he said, that's the end of the sentence and you can ask another question. So, all right. Last thing. So you mentioned 2K. And I don't know how many video game players would possibly listen to this show, but what do you think about the new game? Like, out of what you've heard, like I haven't watched a lot of the YouTube videos, but I don't know. It just everything seems so big. Like the game just seems giant. I'm almost intimidated just to like try out stuff on this game.
Like the city got bigger? Is that what you're saying?
So many new modes. Like,
Oh,
they have, the Jordan thing, and then they have, like, the '80s and the '90s and the 2000s and all that stuff, and then
yeah.
the My Player, which is the My Career, which is what we do, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna play everything," but how do you
Yeah,
play
right?
everything? You don't have time to play everything.
No, you don't. You really don't. So, you're gonna have to pick and choose,
Are
man.
you just gonna
Maybe
you're gonna stay on your My Team and your My Career or your My
I don't
Player?
know. I think playing Diamond Dynasty, the baseball one, like, it's so much better than my team.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I've gotten really good at my team, and
Mhm.
I never spent money at it, and I got really good, but it's like, I'm wasting away my life here, man. Like, it's because in my team, you could just, like, the cards you have to grind to get are only the best card in the game for, like, a week, and then 2K will release a buy card, like you said, a card you have to spend money for that is, like, the
Oh,
same. For baseball, like, they let you get everyone.
yeah.
Like, if you just try, you'll get everyone. You have the best cards in the game for the MLB of the show, so, the my team one's frustrating, and I'll probably still play it.
The show was really good. I think the show was the culmination of everything I ever wanted in a sports game and stuff that I didn't even know that I wanted in a sports game.
I
Like,
just
they
wanna
put
play with my friends, like
yeah, that I mean, that's the thing about 2K. That's why we were able to do that, and
yeah.
10:30 at night and stuff playing, and so, yeah, it'll be fun, but alright, yeah, tomorrow is 2K day, so Friday. People listening to this on Friday, happy 2K day. I imagine the servers are gonna be all jacked up
Mm,
tomorrow
it's
because,
gonna be
everyone's
frustrating.
gonna be trying to play. I just want you to get my build going, whether I'm a power forward or a center or whatever. I just want my build ready so I can build up my guy, and then you guys tell me next week if the servers are allowing people to play online, and then we can jump on.
Clay canceled 2K.
Clay did? Oh,
Yeah, he
because
his
of,
three-point shot
well,
rating.
he's the second highest three-point shot rating in the whole game.
I know, but
Wasn't it
it's
like
still, like,
Steph 99 and
tremendously
Clay 88?
yeah, but that's, like, pretty low.
But he's the second highest. Who else?
But I think he's tied with some people. I'm actually not
Yeah,
sure, but no,
yeah.
I don't know what who
I
I
mean, we
agree with.
just talked about his number. He shot 39% from 3 last year. It's not like he shot in the 40s.
That's at least, like, a 90 then, right? That's pretty
I don't know.
that's pretty
Maybe
high
they watched
percentage,
some of
and I'm
those maybe they watched some of those playoff games.
but I'm sure it was high volume too, like, I think he deserves a
Well, I
90.
mean, the guy takes, like, the hardest shots. He
Yeah,
takes almost as many hard shots as Steph does. It's
yeah.
almost like a one-upsmanship. He's like, "Oh, yeah, Steph, you can make that one? Okay, well, watch this one," and he just throws up some crazy shot. All right, we're done here, but we'll be back next week, and yeah, the season is coming. Training camp is starting. The tour to Japan is coming, so we'll have something. Even if the news is light, we'll figure out something because I still want to talk about expectations for DiVincenzo, expectations for Green. It's kind of hard to talk about PB and J and Ryan Rollins. Maybe we don't do those guys, but maybe after we watch some of the preseason, maybe we do talk about those guys. But yeah, we want to do some more little profiles of guys and yeah, we'll figure it out. So quickly, what was on the BAM this week?
Bam, we talked about the Donovan Mitchell trade. I thought it was a really good podcast. Alex said we talked too much about Isaac Okoro and not enough about the actual Cleveland Cavaliers as a team, which we might have. But I don't want, you know what? I'm just going to say it. And if it doesn't fall through, that's fine. We'll get more viewers out of it regardless. John Krasinski is apparently Tuesday.
What?
Obi got John Krasinski, Athletic, Minnesota Timberwolves beat reporter.
You guys
We will
better
be
do some
talking to him on
studying,
Tuesday.
man.
I know. I'm going to get to the books.
You
But yeah,
guys, that's amazing.
yeah. So
Congratulations if it happens.
make sure to subscribe. And if we don't get John on Tuesday, who cares? You're still subscribed.
So yeah, find the BAM on all of your ways you get podcasts. But you guys also have a Facebook page out.
Yeah, I just started a Facebook page for
And are
it.
you doing any YouTube stuff yet?
Not until we get verified to live stream.
True. Yeah, true. Why is it taking so long?
You know what? I haven't tried. Well, we only do basketball once a week, and I only tried for the basketball show, so I haven't checked. I'm sure we're good to go now.
Yeah, you should be. Because yeah, like we have very few YouTube subscribers on this channel. I'm going to try and increase that with some clips and stuff. But yeah, I mean it's just good to be in as many places as possible, I guess.
Yeah, and
All
if I told me and GSW Reddit were talking. Not recently. I told you I hit him up again recently, but if I told him to listen to the show, so GSW Reddit on Twitter, if you're listening to the show, check your DMs. I asked you to be on the podcast. Let's do it.
I mean, how can he not be happy with us taking this
free promo?
Come on, look at the pool party. His graphic at the pool party. We're giving him credit in the graphic and the handle. Yeah, he's got.
It's probably not even his graphic.
Well, I that's where I saw it. That's where I snagged it from, was his Twitter. So yeah, that'll be fun. I would love to bring him on. So if he's interested, we are here, and we'll pull up a third window here on the video. All right. So we'll be back next week. For Bry, I am Double G. We'll see you when we see you. Congrats to Tim Bug. Peace out.